You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
And right off the bat, you wound up selling your house here in the Springs. You bought a place in Denver you were going to renovate, and you were still trudging through trying to get the whole thing done, right?
It's been a slog.
Right?
It has been a slog.
But I want to point that out just for the common folk, because, everyone has troubles with contractors, right? But even a highfalutin lawyer who's as fantastic as Dave McDivitt can't get away with a smooth transition when it comes to getting the house stuff done.
No,
nice.
I know it has been
it's
anything
kind
but
of refreshing.
smooth. Yeah. Oh, I have all sorts of issues.
All right,
the house is just one of them.
We got a full docket here, Mr. McDivitt. We got all kinds of different questions as well. Some folks hurt on 2 different times they were smashed in the gap in 2020. That's a tough year. But let's go first things first, because Jacqueline was the first one to submit an email question here after your last visit. She, I think, literally sent this when you were here last month. And it's a weird one here. Jacqueline's story goes like this. In April of 2021, a man came to my work and threatened to shoot me if a debit card that I ordered for him did not arrive within the time frame I gave him for delivery. It's kind of like that ever since the pandemic. Usually these minute things that wouldn't do anything.
I know.
Fire people up, like someone who doesn't get their dipping sauce at McDonald's. Suddenly they whip out a gun and escalate these things. It is terrifying. I decided to press charges for menacing, as she should have, right? And trial for this didn't start until March of 2022. Wow, so more than a year and a month later, huh? Or almost a year and a month.
Yeah.
In June, I got subpoenaed to appear in court and given my testimony at the hearing. An hour before I was to appear in court, the deputy DA called me and said he was dropping the charges as there was no sufficient evidence of the crime I had witnessed, and I was willing to provide their names. He said there was no, imminent to the threats? Is that right, or am I reading that wrong? I was very fearful for my life, and I continue to be. Unfortunately, the man has a very average look, so when I see other men who look like him in public, oh, wow, she's got post-traumatic stress, I become afraid. Is it worth it for me to lawyer up and pursue these charges?
Okay, so is there, we can't talk to her, can we, probably?
I can try to track her down. You start going. I'll see if I can get a hold of her.
Okay, yeah. One of the things I'm thinking about, first of all, the DA, I'm surprised the DA dropped the charges given that she was actually ready to testify. I'm confused about the timeline, too. She said the trial was going to start in March of 2022, but then 3 months later, she got subpoenaed to appear in court. So was there a trial in March of 2022? Was it postponed to June? These are just the questions that I have. And then, her ultimate question is it worth hiring a lawyer to help her out? Well, hiring a lawyer in this situation would mean trying to pursue some kind of civil claim, because right now there is the criminal claim. You call the police, the district attorney gets involved. That's criminal, and apparently the district attorney has made a determination that. But, did we get her?
I got her. Hey. Jacqueline, thanks for your email, and I'm sorry you had to go through this. I'm sorry you wandered through life being scared of seeing random guys. This is a horrible story. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good. David had some other questions outside of your story. What are they exactly, Dave?
Jacqueline, can you hear me okay?
How about now? Try it again, Dave.
Jacqueline, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Hey, so tell me a little bit. So this happened in April of 2021, and then you were scheduled for trial in March of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Okay, did the trial actually start in March, or did it start in June?
So I don't know if the trials actually commenced in March. I was invited to attend to those trials if I wanted to. I didn't because I was very, very pregnant at the time. Actually, in March, I had just had my baby, my second child. And so I didn't attend those for obvious reasons.
Sure.
I went through surgeries after having my child. So, when I kept getting the invitations to attend, I wasn't able to go. And then I got subpoenaed in June to actually attend and give my testimony. And then a couple hours before we were supposed to be in court, I got a call from the district attorney's office, and they said it was the deputy DA, and he said he was going to dismiss the case because the charges that were brought against this person did not fit the actions that took place.
Okay. It's a little late for him to figure that out.
So did you ever even give your testimony, or did they nix you even before you got in there and gave your sworn testimony?
No, I wasn't even able to present myself in front of the judges. I was able to give a victim statement even before the trials in March, but no, I wasn't able to actually appear and speak in front of a jury or anything like that.
All right. Did you speak to the victim's advocate at the time to try to understand why they were dismissing the charges?
Yes, and I spoke with her. She said she was going to get somebody to call me back. A week went by without hearing from anybody, and then she got the deputy DA to contact me again, and he basically said that the law did not support the charges that were being brought against him because there was no imminence to the case, that there was no imminent fear of him fulfilling his threat. And I said, you don't know what that feels like. I'm
sure. And for those who don't know, a guy threatened to shoot her if a debit card that she ordered for the guy didn't arrive within the amount of time. That's nothing to joke around about. It's not like, slash your tires or something. I mean, that's serious, right, Dave?
No, it's very serious. And listen, and you were at your workplace when this happened, right?
Correct. And I had witnesses, and I told them at the time I could present witnesses, and they said it didn't matter. That because I basically told the person when I ordered his card for him that it would take about 2 weeks, and he said, if the card doesn't show up in 2 weeks, I'm coming here and I'm shooting you. And they said because he gave that time frame, there was no imminent threat.
Oh my God. That sounds, that's honestly, much I've learned about the law around here with you, Dave, that sounds about right. It's sad. That's terrible.
Well, I think there was more that should have been done and maybe could be done, but let me walk you to a couple of things here. When you're at work, how was he able to, did he tell you this over the telephone, or he actually physically came in and confronted you face to face?
He was physically in front of me.
Okay, and how did he get in front of you? I mean, without telling me the name of the company you work for, can you tell me what kind of a company it is?
It's a bank. I mean, and it's a pretty large bank, so obviously I can't say the name of the company. But
you don't have to name names. We don't get you in trouble or anything. Or throwing one on the bus. But wow, so you think a bank has a surveillance camera, so you see pictures of this guy.
Right.
Okay, and
at the time everyone's masked up, and this person was.
Okay, and you work in a front-facing, like you're a teller level, where like anybody could just walk in and see you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the lobby. I'm not specifically a teller, but I hold a higher position where I can order the debit cards.
Okay, I see. So he's able to come in. It's not as if he was able to kind of break into some back room. I mean, he came into the lobby. He saw you. He made the threat. It's on surveillance. Did the police? Did you call the police that day?
I called them a couple days after when it became clear that nobody in my company was going to go ahead and call the police. I had a fight back and forth with management on what to do about it. Yeah, because they weren't even going to close his accounts.
Wow. So should this start, David, with the place she works?
Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
She's threatened at the workplace, on the clock, on a job by a customer. I don't know.
Yeah, when it became clear that nobody from my place of work was going to take action, that's when I decided to call the police, and it was 2 or 3 days after. I don't remember. Okay. Now, did they... Okay, you obviously knew the guy's name. Did the police pull the surveillance footage? I don't know if they subpoenaed for the surveillance footage or not. It wouldn't have done any good anyway, just because... There's no audio. We don't have audio, no. Yeah, exactly. All right. Just as a matter of, did the debit card come in within that 2-week period? I assume so. I didn't see him anymore after that. Okay, and you've never heard from him since? Correct. Was this a guy you recognized? I've seen him out in public. Yeah, I recognize him in public, and I've seen him in public, and I saw him when I was turning in my victim statement. Actually, I saw him. I don't know if he saw me. Okay. Wow. All right. Now, your question was, Jacqueline, is there anything you can do? Can you hire a lawyer? And I think there may be a couple of different avenues. It depends on, we're past the 1 year anniversary that this happened. This happened in April of 2021. And there are some
statutes, they're called statutes of limitations, that bar a civil claim, because up to this point you've only been dealing with a criminal claim here, and you theoretically could file a civil claim, which means to sue this guy. You know who he is. You could sue him for what he did to you, and there might be several claims that could go along with
like harassment,
the harassment, the threatening behavior, and
wouldn't that be under the terrorist threats as well, since we've had that since post 9/11?
Well, yeah, and that may be more of there may be some civil terror threat claim, but I think that there are maybe some civil claims. His behavior is somewhat intentional in nature, and it may mean then that a 1-year statute would apply. But I would still try to find a lawyer and let them sort that out, try to find a way around that. It could be that a 2-year statute would be applicable here, so I wouldn't wait any longer on this, trying to hire a lawyer to perhaps help you out. It sounds like you're not having a lot of luck with the district attorney's office, but you may want to run this up the flagpole again with them and just say maybe you can get a more, they've dismissed the charges. I don't know if they can refile. I don't know if, because there's been no disposition. He's not been found. He's not been acquitted of anything. They just decided not to press charges any further. Yeah.
What about pursuing something against her company? Her company definitely dropped the ball.
That's the next thing. That's the next thing. I don't know, without getting into the specifics of other things that have happened with your company. It could be that you have some kind of a claim, whether it is a lawsuit claim or with some kind of governing entity here in Colorado that oversees workplace, whether it's harassment in the workplace, feeling threatened by a customer and not having your work do anything at all to support you on that. There may be some kind of claim there too. So it clearly is something that's really important to you. It's bothering you, and I think for your own sanity, it may be healthy for you to just try a couple of avenues. And
at least talk to someone on another level to see if they want to run with it. I'll tell you what. Stick around, Jacqueline. We'll get you some help and some names and numbers on as which lawyer may be able to help you out, and hopefully you can get this thing taken care of. Stay safe, all right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for checking in with us.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Which is basically rappelling out of the bucket in an emergency when the utility bucket wouldn't lower by yourself. So use a rope, a belay device, just like you would when you're going rappelling in there in the woods. Mm-hmm. But T fell approximately 15 feet, and much like every member of the band Kiss, he broke his pelvis and needed a flight for life. Wow, flight for life to medical hospital treatment here in the Springs. For the last 2 years, we have used a safety tagline, which prevents exactly what happened to me. But for whatever reason, in this year's training, in the direction of the trainer, we didn't use that. So he's wondering if they can sue the trainer or the company. He feels it's gross negligence. And there should have been some kind of redundancy, especially if it's training.
Yeah, there's a reason they have these safety measures in place. Let me ask you this. Do we have Terry? Can we get him?
I'll see if I can track him down, too. Go ahead. Start us off.
Yeah, first of all, Terry's got a strong work comp claim, a workers' compensation claim for being injured on the job. It's basically a no-fault paradigm that allows people who are injured at work to get medical bills paid, get reimbursed for time off of work, and any permanency because of the injuries that they have. So he undoubtedly has a claim for that. Whether trainer did something wrong, whether there was gross negligence, just bog standard negligence. And he may already have a claim going. I'm not sure. But what I want to find out, and that's why I wanted to see if we can get him on the phone, is does the trainer work for his company, or was this a third party that his company, his utility company, contracted with?
I still can't get a hold of him. His phone, okay. His phone is busy. Now, what if you're in this situation and you realize it's dangerous and you don't want to do it? How do you get out of something like that? Is this something you can just say, I don't feel safe?
Well, you can certainly do that. So that's right. You can certainly do that. You say you don't feel safe. You're not going to do it without the safety measures in place. Now, a couple of different things can happen. The employer can maybe exert a little bit of influence on you and say, well, if you don't, you're not going to get the certification. You're not going to, you'll get a mark against you on future performance reviews. We're going to fire you if you don't do. I mean, they can exert any sort of leverage against you. Some of which may be completely, I'd say illegal, but improper, and could certainly set them up for a claim.
Cool. He just checked in. Citizen T is on the phone. What's going on, man? Oop, can you hear us, Terry? Yeah, can you hear me now? No? Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I got the wrong button.
Can you hear me?
There you are, dude. Cool, man.
Sorry. Standing too close to the building.
That's all right. I understand. There's a plate in my head that messes me up on a regular basis. Okay, David had a couple of extra questions for you, Dave.
Hey, this is David. I don't know if we're Citizen T. Thank you for getting on here. Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Did you have you already filed a work comp claim for this?
Well, yeah, and work comp and my company itself has been. I mean, they've been great. They've been treating me right. I was just curious. This was a third-party company that they brought in to train us.
Okay.
And sometimes I kind of felt like the guy was more of a salesman than anything.
Yeah.
But and so I was just curious.
He's a really good salesman if he got you to jump out of a bucket, dude.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, like I said, every time before this, we've always used a tagline to stop this from happening. But
what was his reason for not using the tagline this time?
The way I understand it, he just said, "Oh, I've never used one, and all the time I've been doing it."
Oh man, that's like famous last words right there.
Yeah, he was playing Russian roulette basically.
Well, listen, you may have a claim there against him, especially because he is a third party, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the line here to make sure. But, if it's somebody that your company actually employs, just like they employ you, you wouldn't have a separate claim, but you would have a claim perhaps against him or his company. We need to do a little digging and find out exactly whether or not they were negligent in not putting the tagline on it. It may be one thing that the tagline's available. It's another for it to be kind of a best practice or something that's commonly used or would be expected and would be unreasonable in the situation not to use it, which is one of the standards that they would use to determine if he was negligent in not utilizing that when he was doing the training for you. So, yeah, I think it's worth taking a look at. How are you feeling physically now? I mean, are you?
Yeah, man. What's it like to overcome?
I'm healing up. I'm still on light duty, but I'm healing up. A little bit of pain every now and then when I climb into a really tall truck.
Sure.
But
when did this
I
happen?
seem to be healing up pretty good.
Yeah. How long ago was this?
About 6 weeks ago.
Wow, only 6 weeks. Wow, and you're getting around already, huh?
Yeah. Well, they told me it'd be 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, it didn't break. It was just a fracture. It was a crack.
Okay.
I mean, it hurt.
I bet.
So my other question was, is there a time limit? Like if I heal up and say, yeah, I feel great, but let's say 5 years down the road, I suddenly get arthritis because of this. Do I have a resource at that time as well?
No, not in 5 years.
What's the ETA for him to take care of this?
Typically, it's 2 years for negligence, for just general negligence.
So get moving now, T.
Yeah, I mean you're still within a reasonable time frame here. Then let me ask, because they may be able to help you too. Do you I don't need to know the name, but do you have a law firm working with you or a lawyer helping you on your work comp claim?
I don't think so. No, we have a union lawyer. I work with the union, so.
Okay, and is the union lawyer actually helping you on your individual claim?
No.
Okay. And have you talked to the union lawyer about the third-party claim against the training company?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. And the reason I ask it is some law firms will handle a work comp claim, but they won't handle a third-party claim against another company. And other law firms will handle a third-party claim against, say, the other company, but they wouldn't handle the work comp claim. But it sounds like right now you don't really have anybody advocating for you in that sense, but you seem to be moving forward successfully with the employer as well, so that may not be an issue. But I think you were certainly going to need a lawyer to help you out on a third-party claim and to determine whether or not it's a really viable claim. I mean, certainly the real claim is your work comp claim, and you were injured here, and any permanency related injury, any future medical care, that needs to be factored in as you go through your work comp claim to make sure that you're getting all of the benefits that you're entitled to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you had something cooking here, Chair. So wish you the best of luck, all right, man?
All right, thank you.
All right,
I'll put them on hold.
We'll get you some other names and numbers off the air there, T. And that's it. Okay, man.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Now, let's get to Citizen Nick. I've left him a message, and it's still just going right to voicemail, so I don't think we're going to be able to find him unless he calls here in a few minutes. But he called right after we talked last month. Oh. And unfortunately, he's under the deadline, too. I know he's already been subpoenaed, and he said it's like the first or second week of September, this whole thing is going to start. And it's a horrible story, but it's fascinating to see what goes where here. It breaks down like this. He has a cat. His cat was loose. His cat wandered into his neighbor's yard in front of the garage. In the garage was his neighbor's dog. The dog blazed out of the garage, chasing the cat, as dogs and cats do, right, for probably forever. The chase leads to the street. Unfortunately, the dog was hit by a car and did not survive, so he's being sued. Who's at fault?
Okay.
It's a cat. They're loose. The dog wasn't chained up. I don't know.
I know. But, so go back to the very first part of the cat. What was the cat? Was the cat always loose, or is the cat?
I'm sure it's one of the, just like when I had a cat, but unfortunately got eaten by a fox, because I don't have cats no more. But I'm sure he's like in and out cat, so it's inside sometimes. When it wants to go out, the cat goes out and does its thing. But was in their yard when the dog saw it and chased it from the neighbor's garage.
Okay. This is tricky. Well, I would. So he's being sued. I would love to see a copy of the lawsuit, and I don't know if they've hired a lawyer to do it, if they're doing it themselves.
I would assume. Okay, let's say they did it themselves.
Well, I mean, first of all, and this really rubs people the wrong way. A lot of people in Colorado, but dogs are considered, and animals are considered personal property, and so most likely the value that they would get would be for the cost of the dog if they were successful. And I don't know that they're going to be successful.
Now, what is the cost of the dog? What determines that? Is it the price you paid for the animal? Like I just got a puppy from Maine set as a $400 dog, but then also shots and vets and food. Do you get to add all that up, or like
I would certainly
invested thus far?
Yeah, I mean, if I were the one making the claim, I would put all of that in there. If what the value of that property was at that point. Like if you wanted to get a similarly situated dog that had already been, registered, vaccinated.
Wow. Right there shows you exactly how insensitive the law really is.
Well,
there's not a whole lot of humanity.
Tricky.
It's really cut and dry.
It is, but I mean, it's harder to put some kind of personal value on an animal. I mean, everybody has a different relationship with their animals. For some, it is. It is their person, if you will. For others, it's just it's a tool to accomplish something. Yeah. So, but listen, he has an obligation to not allow his cat to trespass on other people's property. And the other people who own the dog have an obligation not to allow their dog to trespass on other people's property. I mean, there are some municipal ordinances that would come into play that could maybe lead to a fine of some sort for one or both of the parties here. The question is, does Nick have some kind of obligation, some duty to that dog when the dog is doing the same thing that his cat was doing, which is basically just running wild?
Right. Well, I was going to ask you the same thing. What if we flip this scenario? The neighbor's dog gets into Nick's yard, eats his loose cat. The cat is the one who is the victim here. Does it change the scenario at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think in that situation, if the cat's minding its own business and it's in his own yard, and this one, the dog left the yard. The dog wasn't killed by the cat.
That's a good point. But the chase started on their property. But he did leave the yard. Wow.
Did leave the yard. And the cat did. See, that's the thing is the cat didn't do it to the dog. The cat is just being a wild animal. I mean, in that sense, being kind of loose animals.
I think cats are a lot smarter than people give credit for. They're like, I'm going to go kill me a dog today.
Well, we need to clone that cat and turn him into government-issued weapons. So I think this is a tough case, but maybe that lawsuit's got something. I don't have all of the facts. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. But Nick's primary concern is he's being sued, so he's got to defend that case, or he's going to he might get a judgment against him. I don't know if it's going to be a jury trial, but a trial to the judge. He has, hopefully, whether he owns a home or he rents a home, he's got some kind of insurance, whether it's homeowner's insurance, renter's insurance, which might cover the cost of a legal defense in something like this.
Really? I did not know that. Now, I've heard of automobile policies that then cover your pet. But that's probably in terms of like car accidents.
In the
like
crash
that, right?
itself, correct. But in this situation, it's something that happened on the property. Well, I mean, it happened in the street, but it was kind of personal property related. That's the thing. There's one person's personal property causing damage to another person's personal property inadvertently and not deliberately. In fact, I mean, I say causing damage, but I mean the fact that the dog chased the cat and the dog went into the street is really obviously very irritating for the owners of the dog and heartbreaking for them. Yeah. But I don't know where the really strong legal claim is against the owner of the cat. And if there is one, I don't see it being a really significant claim. But again, I might be missing something here, Ross, and that's what's, it's difficult in a situation like this, especially with Nick not on the phone. I'm just kind of speculating on some of this, and there's a smarter lawyer out there listening right now who's going to listen and say,
lawyer.
"Hey, yeah, I mean, this is David's missing this or he's missing that," and I'm sorry that I might be, but this is what comes to mind right now.
Well, I think it's also a lesson in being neighborly, because he did mention, he's like, originally after it happened, they did ask me to cover the cremation fees and stuff like that, and he did not do that. So he could have probably nipped it right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been helpful. I mean, look, I'm always an advocate for trying to do things without having to resort to a lawsuit, because it's, lots of times people just aren't happy when they get in that situation, and maybe it's too far gone. I don't know what their damages are, but I'm sure they've bundled up the cost of the cremation in there too. Which, by the way, I mean, it's expensive, but these are not. I mean, the cost to have a lawyer defend you is going to be a lot higher than some of these costs that they might have been asking for to begin with.
A couple $100 in cremation fees. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's tough, and if then the homeowner's insurance will go up. If
good point.
If they have to defend it.
Thank you for listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM, presented by McDivitt Law Firm.